how do you do it? We want to get into a position where we're in like a squatting position, sort of like this, right? And when you squat, you take your hips, the first motion is you take your hips back, right? And you try to sit backwards and drive through your heels, right? So we're going to get, don't think about driving through your heels up and down because you want to maintain, even distribution of back foot. But you want to get into that position where you're going to take it about backwards. Now, are you at A posture? C posture was?
He's in B posture.
So he's right. So you want to get into this like squatting position here. So once you get into this squatting position, I'll talk about how to get into it. But once you get into this squatting position, if you draw this line right here, I'm about 45 degrees right now. The motion is like stealing a base. Okay, so when you steal a base, you're here, your first movement is to drive. You got to rotate and drive yourself to the base, right? So this motion that we're looking for on the pitching side of things is you want to have a rotation like this, and you want to have a linear drive like this combined. So this piece rotates slightly, and then as it continues to rotate, you drive forward. So that's that extra little that's the last you have direct energy towards the plate. Okay. So in fast motion, it would look something like that. Right. Now, if you do that motion, your arms are spread out up here. When I do it, I get that separation, and that's where you get the transfer of things. The lower half transferring up and up. So that motion, we have drills that work like just that motion, so I can show you. I think that'll happen fairly naturally for you if you put yourself, if you get into that position. So how to get into that position? You have a pretty high leg kick, which is fine. We just got to get you to move. We're talking like that much. It's not a big move like this. If you do that, you're way too far to we'll see what's in here. We're just talking about a little move like that, just a little drift. So you get a little, if your leg's up here, you just get a little drift. When you squat down, it's got a process for moving. And then you kick your leg out, and then you get that top flow because your leg was exposed. So just a little bit of drift, and then a motion of where how do you do? Just kick your hands out like this.
Chase.
Kind of like this. So you take your hands out like this, take your butt back. Right? So now see how I get in that position on my back leg? I have some energy right here. I can feel it in my glute, I can feel it in my back leg. Now I can actually take this and drive this forward. And you can see this here. So when I lift up, I get a little bit of a drift going, right? And then this doesn't do exactly.
And there's a good picture of you, right? Turn the page there for a second. I think the Boxy looked at your.
Yeah. You can see how much I'm sitting down, right? And this angle on the back leg.
Okay.
There's a lot of energy stored there. Whereas I think if we see you, your back leg would be a lot straighter.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have this energy stored here, and now when I drive energy back into my back, when I drive myself to the plate, I'm going to be able to release all that stored energy there.
Right.
My upper body is in a position where it can connect. So when I release that, everything just spirals up the chain. I have video of myself, and you can kind of. So you can see I'm not moving much, but right there I start moving forward.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just a little drift. It's not drastic. Then as I start coming down, I get into that squatted position there.
Right.
Right? Now I'm at about 45 degrees right here. Close?
Yeah.
Right? Between the 40 and 50 degree mark. Now you can see this back side starts to rotate, and that's what drives me to the plate. So back up, you can see. When this back side starts to rotate here, you can see that extra little drive I have going towards the plate. And at landing, my hips are facing kind of out this direction. They're not directly towards the plate, but my upper body is facing this direction.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where you get that separation. I have this linkage here from the lower half is pretty much done rotating. I have one frame afterwards, which it rotates. That frame there, before it starts kicking up over the hip. But I have, this is pretty much done. The lower half is pretty much done. The upper half hasn't really done much yet. It's just stayed sideways.
Right.
So right now what's working is just the energy is being transferred straight up through the midsection. And I'm able, because of the position I put myself in the lower half, the amount of force I generated in the rotation, this is having to separate because my upper half with my arms out doesn't rotate nearly as much as my hips. My hips are a lot smaller profile. Right? Okay, so let's look at the initiation of this and you. Okay, here's top of leg lift for both of us.
Yeah.
This automatic rotation thing sometimes. So you can see how I'm moving out,
Yeah.
right? And so it's a very similar position, but I've just moved out slightly. So my line through my body is like that,
Yeah.
and your line is kind of like that.
Right.
So I've moved my center of gravity. If you look at my center of gravity, it's probably right about there.
Okay.
Right? And yours is still kind of back here because of your counterbalance.
Yeah.
So I've moved mine just slightly farther down the mound. So now you can see me getting into that kind of squatted position there.
Yeah.
Whereas your left hand just collapses in.
Yeah.
Right? So you can see how mine goes from that squatted position, now it releases.
Right.
And I get that drive towards the plate, whereas yours just kind of collapses. Yours just kind of collapses and sets you down.
Yeah.
You see that little motion right there? That's how you can kind of tell. Your foot will get to a certain point and it'll just set down.
Okay.
Because your body is run out of ways to continue moving towards the plate.
Right.
So it gets to a certain point, it's like, well, I gotta land, so just the foot comes right down. Then you end up landing on your toes, your front side's slightly weak, and you don't get much separation because you're just coming straight down instead of being driven towards the plate.
Right.
So you see that happen, right? Your foot gets to about the white line, it just kind of sets straight down.
Yeah.
And that forces your hips and your upper half to rotate together.
Right. Okay.
And so you would want the foot not to land as quickly, or you would want...
It's not necessarily, the foot is a symptom.
Right.
Stuff that's happening before. So it's not necessarily you don't want the foot to land as soon or delay the foot landing. You want to get the back side working in such a way that the foot's going to come down naturally.
Right.
Whenever is right for him to have the foot come down, his body will put the foot down. But you want to have the rotation happening before a foot plant.
Okay.
Whereas right now he's getting kind of more of just a collapse in the foot plant because his foot's already on the ground and his hips are still facing kind of that way.
Okay.
And now they start rotating.
Okay.
Whereas at foot plant on mine, there's weight bearing and my hips are facing pretty much out this way.
Okay. And you started to rotate earlier because of the squat position?
I put myself in my body in a position where I could go through that motion. I could rotate before foot plant.
Right.
Whereas up here, because he doesn't move his center of gravity as much,
Right.
he doesn't get into that squatted position and he can't really rotate. So that what happens is the knee collapses in, and the hips don't really rotate.
Show him your, when you get into that real boxy look, just stand up and show him how quick that rotation happens from you when you get up there. This because it's almost like it speeds everything up. It just,
So if I get into a position like this, about this high, and you get to about like this, right? I can rotate pretty fast. but I'm using the muscles kind of in my hips and everything to rotate. So I'm just trying to rotate based on this motion here. I'm not getting any really drive out of one part. But when I get down into this position, I can really rotate fast and drive myself. Right? And I get that extension on the back side to drive myself forward. And that's a very explosive movement because I'm using bigger muscle groups in my body. So if I'm going through a delivery and I get to this position here, and I go to rotate, I'm using from about here up to generate velocity. If I get into this position when I'm pitching, I'm using my calf, and I'm using everything to drive myself forward. And I can just...
And it's hard for him to show that position statically, right? It's hard to get in that position statically. See how much that's flexed? Okay, so now you're not going to be able to get there overnight, but what you're going to do is you're going to incrementally add that as we go. It's just becoming more and more athletic.
My definition of like being athletic is being able to generate forces and redirect forces. If you look like a basketball player, they're constantly cutting. You know, they talk about the great athletes, like the football player. He can stop here and cut. You know, they did something. I don't know if you watched SportsCenter last night, but they had a little something on Trent Richardson, how he could take a certain amount of force, just stop on one leg, cut 90 degrees to get around guys. So creating and redirecting force is that's what athleticism is to me. And the way you create, to be most efficient at that, you have to pass through certain positions. The body works in 45 degrees and 90 degrees. So you want to pass through as many of those points as possible. That's why this angle, this 45-degree angle is important. That's why the 90 degrees is important up here, because that's allowing the body to pass through positions where it works naturally. So just trying to become more athletic is learn how to create and redirect forces, but it takes a while to figure out how your body does it best.
So everything's at 45s and 90s.
So we go 45 degrees back behind us, right? Because we don't want to just move this way. So if the body band is right behind us, we want to just move linearly. We don't want to just rotate, so the band is back there and we just get into this rotation. We want to combine the two, so we can split the difference. We get into like a squatted position here, and now scoot back a little bit. From here, we're trying to get this thing to rotate first, right? This starts the rotation. Then we're trying to drive this thing forward, towards the plate. So in fast motion, it's really hard to show in slow motion. The best I can do would be kind of like this here, and drive from the plate. But you can slow the video down, right?
Yeah.
So you can kind of see it. I have it on my iPad that I can show you too. But the position, the drill we do is like, I'm going to go through this. You go like this, you get into the position, you can just drive forward. And you really try to be explosive and drive yourself as far that way as you possibly can and stay as low as you possibly can when you're driving. So we don't want to drive up like this. We want to stay low and drive that way. And you can see, if you put, give me that connection ball. Put a connection ball in up here, and a connection ball in here. And you drive, you get this little feel. You're going to feel it in your core because this isn't rotating as fast as your hips are. So we'll hook this up to like a bar. We'll hook up one of the bars. And we'll do like 10 of them in a row. Just training motion. Once I get to this position, how to release it. And then we'll take it off and we'll go put a connection ball in. And we'll do a blend where we do this drill. We throw a baseball with it with no band on us. So we'll get into a position here. We'll replicate, we'll have a baseball in our hand. We'll do the motion of actual throw. So we'll blend that in and then we'll go into an actual delivery and try to pass through that position and transfer it over. So right here, what I was doing is I go through the drill. This is right after I'd done the band work.
Okay.
I'd get down into this position. There's my boxy look. I can see I'm starting to rotate it and drive myself forward.
Right.
right? So there's my landing. My hips are facing kind of out this way, my upper body's facing this way.
Yep.
And now I connect up and rotate around a stable front side, and all the energy transfers up through the hand.
Right.
So I did that. I'll just play it for you so you can kind of see. I did one of those, and I came back and I think I did 3 of them, then I went to a delivery. So you can just get an idea of like the position I am in with the back leg, so you can kind of get a feel for it, and I'll show you in the delivery I get to a very similar position. So I'm just focusing on that drill. I'm trying to be as explosive as I can. I'm firing the back side and getting myself to drive as far towards the plane as I possibly can. Now here in the delivery, I don't get nearly as low,
Yeah.
but you can see the similarities between this position and my starting position on the drill.
Right.
So I've managed to get into a comparable position. So now, because I train it, my body knows what to do from this position. So you'll see right about now, my knee starts driving me forward, and you get that same rotation as you do in the drill. So there's my weight-bearing foot plant. And now my hips are facing out this way. Again, my shoulders are kind of facing that way.
David, this is where the velo is going to come.
Right.
Connection from the lower half to this, right? And that doesn't mean that this is not now as important. It is. We need to continue to work on it. But it's connecting the lower half to this upper half and getting that energy to go through the middle portion right there. There's what, right now we got kind of a block. We got kind of a blockage there. And
Is it a physical blockage, or is it just a?
We don't really know. It could be a strength constraint that is not maybe strong enough to get into those positions. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just a movement pattern issue.
Oh, okay.
That he has developed a movement pattern where he's not really allowing his body to pass through those points because it's unnatural. So the body compensates and it doesn't function as efficiently as it possibly could. So I think if we fix the start of it, if we get him just to drift a little bit forward as he's moving out, and we get him to kind of feel those positions, and the body gets comfortable. Oh, okay, I know what it's like to be in this position. I'm comfortable in that position. The body is more inclined to pass through those positions.
Right.
So it kind of starts blending in. Just from being in a static position, you get a little bit of a blend because the body becomes comfortable in that position. And then when you actually go through the blend of being in that position, delivery, then that's when you get the real meshing and the real blending of it all together.
what Eric is finding is that all the power pitchers not only have a boxy look, but they keep their head over. Someone doing something wrong. See, so what he does,
Head over the,
the inside of his back knee.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Therefore, when he gets the boxy look, now so that there's
His head, but his head is over the inside of his back knee, it looks like.
It's outside.
it's outside.
It's outside the back knee. We want his head on this line here.
He
Okay.
went on this side.
Right. See, and anywhere between, let me zoom in
Okay.
so you can see this. Anywhere between the back leg, so the back knee here, anywhere between this line and the back hip is our ideal range in this area here for our head.
Okay,
And you can see his head is
right,
shifted this way of our ideal range.
right,
When you do that, the body gets stuck. It can't sink down as much. It can't
Right.
rotate as quick.
We want his head right.
but with his knee still where it is, the back knee still where the back knee is, his head just up there?
Yeah,
Got
so,
it.
so if you could get a little bit of tilt and keep this right over there, now you can get. So now if I'm gonna just think, if I'm gonna hit somebody, or even if I'm a hitter, this.
Right, yeah,
versus that.
yeah. But I don't see, you said a little bit of tilt. I didn't see any tilt in the second time you did it. What's, the second time it looks like you're,
Some people tilt, some people don't. You don't want the eye. You don't want to break the eye.
when you say the eye, what's the eye? Right,
You
right,
have- so through your hips, your shoulders, and your spine,
Right.
you have a capital I. If
okay,
you maintain that eye, you're going to be connected. So if I'm here and I tilt my front hip up this way, my head's slightly outside of my knee, but I'm in a position where my hips are like this, my shoulders are like that, and so I maintain my connection. My spine is still straight. I'm still in a connected position. My body's gonna be able to pass through positions that allow me to connect. What we don't want is you don't want to counterbalance where you lift up, your hips stay here, and your shoulders lean this way. See how my eye is now bent?
Right, okay.
If you get this here, now your body's in a position where you can't rotate,
Right, right,
you can't sink down.
right,
So you just get like this, and then you just you stick this leg up, you counterbalance, and then you just
right, right.
So
And so your eye was tilted though, and you did it the right way. Your eye still was tilted. It was just that it wasn't bent.
it's not bent.
Right, okay, I got
So
it.
you want to get the pelvic tilt, and if you get a pelvic tilt and your shoulders don't move, you bend in the other direction. If you get the pelvic tilt this way, you want your eye.
I see, right.
You always want to maintain the integrity of the eye though.
Right, okay, right,
Either way with it.
okay.
That's part of how you stay connected on the upper half as well. Aside from your action points and stuff like that, you don't want to get your spine out of whack.
Okay.
look where your head's at.
And is that right? Is his head right? Okay, that's part of, yeah.
So there you have a lot of energy stored. Now you're directing it to the plate, right? And as you get more familiar with it, this thing will start being more out here, right? And your upper body will be more straight up and down. Your body will naturally, as the goal of the drill is to be athletic,
Right.
it'll naturally come into those positions.
Which, the first thing you said was, you said
Something more like here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Your ground force angle, your
he'll
shin angle.
have this angle back here, and it'll be very similar to this angle out here.
Okay.
So this one's like, if that's 137, this one will be about 137 that way. As he gets more familiar with the
Right.
drill and stuff. But you can already see in the landing how much more rotation you have out of the hips.
Right,
This weight
right.
bearing. Now your hips are facing more out this way.
And that, you know what that means? Velo.
Yeah.
That's pure velo. Rotation is power.
Right.
And you can also see how you can see there's some frames here where your lower half rotates and your upper half isn't rotating. You're already starting to rotate your lower half there,
Right. Yeah.
and your upper half is still not rotating. So now you're getting some separation. You're getting a little bit of transfer through that.
Film one.
And that's good, right? You want there, right.
Film one more, and I think there's something that will really help him. You need two balls. You need one here and both sides.
Low side, yeah.
That'll delay that upper body rotation.
Yep. There's your rotation. Upper half still hasn't really rotated yet.
Yeah, it's 30, 40 degrees further.
Yep. So you can see how much more powerful that looks,
Right.
than what we had originally. And as you get better at this leg will start then projecting more
Right.
out towards the plate.
Yep.
You'll get more energy being driven this way as you get more comfortable with it. And you'll start seeing that leg get out here. It'll brace up better,
Yeah.
and you'll start getting more connection.
And one final thing I want you to emphasize as you're doing this. As you're doing this, I watch Cody do this all the time. When he's doing this drill, is that he goes, and what that does is, as this going out here, that delays this even more. This upper body rotation, as I expand here, it delays that and allows that even more, and it puts even more of a stretch, right? So if you just kind of go like this versus you kind of go like that, so now we get kind of a loading back in here as well. So that's what you want. So it's boxy, bend, expand.
Is that why you do the C? Because it gives you more,
Yeah,
the C gives you more,
I'm a very slender body type in general.
Right.
So I can't not generate the kind of energy that like Nolan Ryan or Roger Clemens can, just purely on rotation this way. I'm not massive enough to really be able to generate. So I have to generate velocity through putting muscles on stretch and tension and releasing and being explosive, the rubber band effect,
Right.
stretching and releasing. So that's why I go into the C posture, because when I can get this, I can get stretch across here, I can get bow in my back, and then I can get the rotation. So I have 3 forms of stretch going on all at the same time, and then I'm very good at releasing them simultaneously and going from, I have this going on in my back, I have this stretch here, and then I get rotation going on, so I have a stretch this way. And then once all those release, they all snap
Right.
into my release, and that's why I can generate the kind of velocities I generate with such a slow. In high school, I was 5'11", 160 pounds, running up there 93, 94 miles an hour, strictly based on how being efficient at sequencing and stretching and releasing at the proper times.
Okay.
Feel and just trying to be athletic and trying to figure out how my body moved best and stuff like that. So it's going to be different for him than it is for me.
Right.
It's for the next guy. And it just happens. It's deliberate practice. You have an idea in mind. Okay, I have certain principles that I know I need to be within. Now, how does my body naturally work best within those?
Yeah, so it's here and here, right? And so I want you to kind of bow, you kind of dip, and then you turn up. That's it. Which one was better, that one or